Welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA here in Hawthorne, California. As always, I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast, and with me this week is the English correspondent to beat the count.
Yeah.
Jordan Stewart, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I'm always glad to have you on. Yeah, so
Looking forward to it.
yeah, we got a chance to check out that fight yesterday.
We did. We did.
Live at Staples Center.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, it was
Good
pretty
fights.
Good cards. Good cards. We even got to watch the. They showed the Adonis Steven one, but we had to watch it in the bar.
Yeah.
In the bar in Staples Center, the hot dog bar. They weren't serving
right,
food
but
though.
with no food. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
hot
they
dogs.
weren't serving food. I know what that's all about.
Yeah.
Had to talk to Staples Center about not serving food during the boxing events.
Right. Yeah.
But
pretty
not
much
too bad.
Everything was shut down. Huh?
Not too bad. A lot of mixed reactions to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
It was close.
You think so? It was close?
I think so.
I think overall, speaking from my perspective, obviously, it was an exceptional experience.
Yeah.
I loved watching the fight. I enjoyed it. Every minute of it, basically.
Yeah.
The English fans did come out to support Tyson Fury, and I've said this actually last time you were on here.
Yeah.
It makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely excitement picks up a level, and it's a better environment, I think, when you've got an English fighter thrown in the mix.
All the way from outside the arena, English and Irish
Yeah.
fans, and inside the arena, there are quite a few English and Irish fans.
Yeah.
Although I will say that, so we've been to a few fights with English fighters before. We went to Ricky Hatton and Manny Pacquiao, for instance. And as much as there was a lot of English supporters, more than you might expect, it's certainly not that level of engagement from English fans. They weren't everywhere. It was, what would you call the crowd? Was it 50-50, half and half?
Yeah, close. I think it was still probably pro Wilder.
You think so?
Yeah.
So you think it was outweighed by?
Yeah, I think the English fans are just typically louder. I don't know that there was a I don't know that there was a 50-50 split in count, but in noise level,
They were just
probably. You know what I mean?
Okay, so more people from the U.S.
Yeah.
and then English fans just being loud and participating.
Yeah.
We even went through some of the English traditions. They did Sweet Caroline. We did Sweet Caroline.
We did get some of that in, yeah.
I've tried to figure out where that comes from. You could find multiple stories on Google.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've
but
never
they
looked it up.
kind of contradict each other and stuff like that. Some of them are pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I encourage people to look at it if they want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never looked it up before.
Okay, so not quite 50-50, but still they were out, but not out like they come out for, say, Ricky Hatton or some of the other fighters that we've seen. Amir Khan, for instance. I think Amir Khan and Maidana, there was quite a few English fans out for that.
Yeah.
So why is it that he doesn't quite get that level of support, you think?
I think it's the antics.
I think because you're English, I expect you to speak for all of England. By the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so speaking for the entire country.
Yes,
I think
speaking
it's
for the entire country. Why is it that they don't get as behind Tyson Fury?
I think it's his the antics and the sort of the craziness that kind of comes with Tyson Fury.
Okay.
Right? That's not going to be everybody's cup of tea to touch on the English thing. It's just not for everyone, and so I can see people who are going to be turned off by him, myself included. I made a point of telling you last night that I was Tyson Fury for one night only.
Just because you want to see an English heavyweight champion, WBC heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would like to see Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua ultimately.
Sure. But generally speaking, you would not describe yourself as a Tyson Fury fan.
Not particularly. As a person, I guess.
Sure.
On that side. I mean, he's a great boxer, clearly very good at what he does. But no, I mean, I'm not personally a Tyson Fury fan. However, last night, I'm in full force. I come out and do my thing and kind of put my English hat on, I guess.
You know what's interesting about that is the fact that the things that you described, the character of Tyson Fury. So basically there's Tyson Fury and then there's like this character that he's developed, the Gypsy King, right?
Yeah.
And I feel it's kind of like the same way, there's Mayweather and then there's money.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So Tyson Fury has the Gypsy King character, which is like one of the things that I find endearing. It's one of the things that I love to watch about Tyson Fury. I actually, in the past, I should say, haven't been all that entertained by Tyson Fury's fights.
No.
It's kind of like Floyd Mayweather in the sense that, I read CompuBox tweets. I don't know if you saw those, but they said Tyson Fury held Deontay Wilder to 6 punches a round, and he had held Vladimir Klitschko to only 4 punches a round. So the heavyweight average is 15.
Wow.
Right? So he's just not getting, there's not a lot of hitting.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So when you watch his fights, there's not a lot of hitting. He doesn't throw a tremendous amount of punches, and he's also not receiving them. Yeah. So I get they're not always entertaining. But the character of the Gypsy King, I just find hysterical. Yeah. I talk about him almost every show because of how funny I think he is.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all part of the package, right? I mean, the hands behind the back, the tongue wagging, the screaming and shouting. Like, it's all fun and games until you get knocked out, right? And I think that was kind of the expectation going into last night, is that he's this character, he's fun, and he moves and he boxes well, but the reality is he's going to get knocked out. And he took everything that Deontay Wilder had to offer. I mean, he got up from an outrageous what I thought was a knockout. But
so I want to give you some credit for this, because immediately after that you told me that was like the Undertaker. you immediately afterwards you told me, like, wow, that was like when Paul Bearer holds the urn over Undertaker and he just sits right up. Yeah. And since then I've seen maybe 25 different memes on like him getting up. Even Ring TV cut one together with him and the Undertaker's music. So as soon as he sits up, you hear the gong and does all that stuff. Yeah. So I just want to give you credit. Yeah, I think you were probably the first one.
Yeah, I'll take it.
But to your point, something I thought, so I mentioned that he held Deontay Wilder to only 6 landed punches per round.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he went down twice. Right?
Yeah.
And Deontay Wilder weighed in at 212 pounds. That's light. 212 and a half. That's lighter than he weighed against Luis Ortiz. Mm-hmm. And he had said that he was only that light because he was sick for part of training camp last time. But he weighed in at 212, and then he
that's crazy, right?
He only landed 6 punches a round and still put him down 2 times. And one of them was, I can't help but call it a knockout when I describe it to people. Mm-hmm. So I was explaining to my wife, to other people. They were like, "Oh, how did the fight go?" And I kept saying, and then in the 12th round he got knocked out, right? But he got up though. Yeah, I mean, he got knocked out, but he got up. Yeah. So he didn't beat it, because it was just such a vicious shot.
Yeah.
It says a lot to me about Tyson Fury. Like, I think that's the first time I've ever found one of his fights just fully entertaining, start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think it shows some degree of character that I wasn't aware that he had.
Well, so I was just about to say the same thing. So I think, this idea of me not being a Tyson Fury fan prior to last night, I could see myself being a Tyson Fury fan now.
No, yeah.
So even though I only went into it last night thinking, okay, I just want him to get this win, go back home and then see what happens, whoever he fights next, because of the way that he fought,
yeah,
because of the the heart that he showed, because he came back from a knockout, he just showed something different yesterday. So I don't know if Tyson Fury post life struggle is a different type of Tyson Fury, right? I mean, we watched the fight where I think he fought Steve Cunningham years ago.
Yeah, he got floored by Steve Cunningham.
He got floored, right? Well, then it was comical, and it was funny that a cruiserweight had put him down. And then he had some outrageous singing at the end of it after kind of, and even the win was kind of contentious
because he was last night.
But even the win against Steve Cunningham was contentious because he was overly physical with him in the knockout and all that kind of stuff.
The referee wasn't calling.
Yeah, so there was just a lot of. Yeah. So if you look at that Tyson Fury versus Tyson Fury last night, those are 2 very, very different fighters.
Let me ask you this. So you had mentioned you were not a Tyson Fury fan before. You can see yourself being a Tyson Fury fan now. So in the foreseeable future, it is quite possible that Tyson Fury could move on to fighting Anthony Joshua in Wembley or one of the stadiums where they're obviously going to fill it out.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, who would you like to see win that fight? Who would you root for? Not who would win, but who would you root for?
Who would I root for?
Yeah,
probably Joshua.
Would you cheer for? You cheer for Joshua still?
I would find it harder now to cheer for Joshua because I've watched Tyson Fury do what he did last night, right? So I'm kind of pulling for the guy a little bit now. Like, I think that what he did last night warrants some respect and a little bit of additional following. I'm still more of an AJ fan than I am a Fury fan.
Okay.
And I think that's just because AJ can kind of fly the flag better, I guess, essentially, than Fury could, But then the media plays into all that.
He's a better representative.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I think Tyson Fury beats him, though.
I was going to ask you, so who do you think would win?
I think Tyson Fury beats him.
You think Tyson Fury beats him? Decision?
Yeah.
Yeah, decision win over?
Yeah. I think if Fury can take Wilder's power, he likely can take Joshua's.
Sure.
So I see I see it actually pretty similar to yesterday's fight. I would imagine Joshua would put him down once or twice. It would have to be something hellacious to knock him out, apparently.
Yeah, I think that was remarkable.
Yeah.
That was the two shots. He was going down from the first right hand.
Yeah.
I've watched that clip maybe 100 times. He was going down from the first right hand almost as if a building had been demolished. Like he was just sinking down on himself when the hook followed and knocked him in the other direction. And he has almost this. Did you ever see Creed? Did you see the first Creed movie?
Yeah.
He has this Creed moment where in Creed, Tony Bellew knocks him down. It looks like a knockout, and then he suddenly has this what I thought was an unrealistic all of a sudden he wakes up and is able to stand, and you're like, okay, that's silly. That would never happen. But it did happen. That's what happened. Like he was there and he was out, and then he just woke up and got up and and not only that, there was a long time left. Yeah, there was like 2 minutes left
plus.
In that round.
Yeah, I think that's where you and I had a little disagreement actually at that point, because of course I was screaming for him to hold.
We did,
thinking that obviously now Wilder's going to go and do what Wilder does. He's going to start kind of throwing crazy, and it's going to happen. So I'm screaming for the guy to hold. You're obviously saying no, he's fighting back and he should continue to fight back. And now obviously in hindsight I see why. Because at least by throwing, it prevented Wilder from continuing to come at him.
He landed one significant shot in that exchange that discouraged Wilder from pursuing any further at that degree. So it's not Wilder was still trying to get him, but he stopped trying to get him as aggressively.
Sure, yeah.
And I had said before that he's like, dude's a shark, man. Like when he smells blood in the water, he's a great finisher, right? Yeah. And he tried holding. The reason I was okay with the exchange is because he tried holding. The very first thing he did was hold. Yeah. He was trying to back off. He was trying to take shots on the arms. Yeah. And it didn't appear to be working. And when that wasn't working, then he started to throw bombs, right? Yeah. And he landed one of them. He was fortunate. He caught one, and I think it really discouraged Wilder going forward.
I think he, in an interview this morning, Fury actually said that he believes he won the 12th round.
Well, which is possible.
Outside of the knockdown, I think he felt like he got the better of the 12th round, which I guess you can kind of make a
let me
point,
say,
if he took the last 2 minutes and Wilder took the first minute, then yes, I guess he kind of won the round.
Yeah, breaking it down into minutes to me is kind of old school. Now it is possible to get knocked down and win a round for sure. I've seen it done before a number of times, in my opinion, where I've looked at it and go, yeah, clearly that guy won the round, even though he got knocked down. Yeah. This isn't one of those cases, just because of the extent of that knockdown. Like I said, it was so devastating. I continue to call it a knockout on accident. Like, Fury was knocked out, but then he got up and did. You know what I mean? Like, so I certainly don't think that anything that Tyson Fury did in that round could compare to anything that Deontay Wilder did in that round. Yeah. But despite not winning that, there was some. So I've been going through and reading all the comments on Twitter and things like this. I have a tendency to go through and check what fighters are saying and things like that. We've had debates on the show before about fighters' opinions versus the opinions of analysts and things like that. This is a situation where I'm seeing professional fighters have a lot of dispute about who they thought should have won. Yeah. I've seen people like Antonio Tarver, for instance, say everyone's blind and Bronze Bomber clearly won the fight, that it was easy. Yeah. Easy decision. And then you have people like Andre Ward saying that, he can't see. He understands a draw, but he thinks that Tyson Fury won by 3 or more rounds. Yeah. Right. Floyd, I think, ringside, you said you saw a clip. Yeah. Floyd had him up 5-0 after the first 5 rounds.
They interviewed him. They interviewed him after, I think it was in the 6th round, and he said he had it a clean sweep 5-0 for Fury.
Yeah, I watched the clip a number of times because we were at Staples, we didn't get to hear the Showtime commentary. Sure. So I went back and watched some of the highlights because I wanted to hear what they were saying. And the clip of the knockdown in the 12th is very interesting. So for one thing, Mauro Ranallo actually says in that clip, Deontay Wilder has done it, right? Like that's he's like going off. So he says, "Mamma mia," which "Mamma mia." Yeah. Deontay Fury is down. Down goes Fury, Mamma Mia, Deontay Wilder has done it. And then Paulie Malignaggi returns with the turn surprise, like, he's up. Like, he got up, like Paulie's blown away. Yeah. I even watched one where there's a close-up on Wilder's face because he's like dancing in blood.
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't see that last night, but since
glad.
I've seen, he's doing his little shake. Yeah.
Dude, if you guys haven't seen it, try and find the close-up clip on Deontay Wilder's face because he's like blowing kisses, he's dancing, he's doing the shake, and then out of the side of his eye, he realizes that Tyson Fury stood up and is gonna get to continue, and he like almost laughs at it.
Yeah,
like he's like,
yeah. I mean, what else could you do? You know what I mean? He knows as well as anyone how well he hit him.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he had said, he had a quote afterwards. He said he saw his eyes roll back, and God knows how he got up from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't understand how he's able to get up.
Yeah, I don't think it's that far fetched to call it a knockout that he got up from because I think he was for a few seconds. I think he was.
It was a knockout.
Yeah,
and he got up from the knockout though. Yeah. And I didn't have a problem with the count, so I saw a number of people thought that it was a favorable count. I didn't have a problem with the count. You know what I am seeing, though, guys? So just for anyone who's on there, particularly anyone in the UK who is questioning the judging of American organizations or WBC or whatever the case was, there were no American judges last night.
Yeah.
There was one judge from the UK who coincidentally is the judge who had it a draw between those fighters, and then a judge from Mexico and a judge from Canada. So there were no American judges last night.
Which is strange in itself, actually. All right, you would think one English, one American, one neutral.
Maybe, yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those things where a lot of people have said it's a robbery, which I understand that sentiment, but it's not like a U.S. thing. There was not an American judge.
No,
right?
Yeah.
I also don't think of a draw as a robbery. Like look, Tyson Fury's winning the round in the 12th when he gets hit with some shots and he goes down. So he's pretty convincingly winning a round. He goes down. That's a 3-point swing. It went from being 10-9 in his favor to 10-8 in favor of his opponent.
Yeah. And
that happened twice, right? So it's like you look at it and you're like, okay, so there's some point deductions there. Yeah. You could make an argument that he lost
you can easily
the
get
first
to
round.
a draw. Yeah, I think you can get to a draw. Like I believe Tyson Fury won the fight. I think he took enough rounds to overcome the 10-8s. But the way I scored it, I think I was only one round different. So if somebody was to give one additional round to Wilder that I did not,
sure,
there's the draw.
Yeah.
So that's how close I was to a draw.
Yeah.
So I mean, one was it 115, 111. Somebody had Wilder 115, 111.
Yeah. So that's the biggest.
So that's hard to figure out.
Yeah, that's the biggest because I think what you're saying there is Wilder won 7 rounds, right? So and you have to think. Deontay Wilder won 7 rounds, and I do think that that's kind of challenging, particularly in the second half of the fight. Despite the knockdowns, Tyson Fury really came on in the second half. I thought the close rounds were like round 1, for instance. Mm-hmm. You could see that going either way, even though Tyson Fury, I gave it to him just because I think he threw a flurry like right towards the end of the round.
Yeah,
where it was a round I thought Wilder was winning, but Tyson Fury had the most memorable moment.
I think all 3 judges gave Wilder the first round, but then a couple of them I think gave Fury the next 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Which
some of them were close.
Yeah, I mean I think we had both said maybe when it hit the 6th round, I think you and I both had it split.
I had it split after 6.
Yeah,
I had it 3-3.
Yeah, and so I did too, and I think 2 of the judges had Fury already up 5-1, if not 4-2, 5-1.
But at the same time, that was also just like a suspicion.
Sure.
Like I wasn't sitting there judging the fight. It was more like, what do you think? And I was like, oh, it's close. Yeah. I think it's close. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3-3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, don't. I wasn't actually sitting there judging. What's up, Boxale? And infamous Nova. What's going on, guys? Draw was the right call. What did you think, Boxale? Was the draw the right call? Was it a robbery? I'm curious. See, because I've seen a lot of stuff on this. Paulie Malignaggi said that the judge who scored it, you mentioned the 115, 111 scorecard for Wilder, said that he should never be allowed to work in boxing again. You think that's drastic?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the it's not the judge that gave Canelo gave Canelo one over Mayweather, but
yeah, that was pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, it's a stretch, right? I think it was a stretch. I don't think it's like the worst piece of judging we've ever seen.
Ruben V has Wilder being robbed. I understand because of the 2 knockdowns. I think it's hard to do.
Yeah,
you know,
but
it's hard to come
the
back from
robbery,
that.
I think the robbery there is Tyson Fury getting up.
that's
That's the robbery. It's not so much the judging as it is Fury just got up from something he never should have.
He should. Yeah, I don't
I mean,
know how he did
if
it.
you were Wilder, you'd feel a little bit robbed, right? If you just hit somebody like that and then they just stood up. Like, this is.
You'd be like, this is some BS right
Yeah,
here,
right.
man.
But like,
It
I'm over
reminds
it.
me,
I'm done.
in the first Rocky movie, when Apollo puts him down in the last round, and then Rocky stands up, and Apollo just is like, damn.
Yeah.
But you know, so I had someone asked me on Instagram what my prediction was, and I made a rather lengthy prediction. I've sort of explained it on the show a few times, but I had said Wilder by KO, and it was because of the 2-year layoff, because the opponents that Fury had picked leading into that did not have any of the same advantages that Wilder does, so he wasn't preparing specifically for Wilder with those opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both smaller guys, didn't hit as hard,
Yeah.
you know, didn't have those kind of knockouts. I think that he wasn't kind to his body, you know, for that 2-year period.
Sure.
And despite the advantages and things that he has, I just said I couldn't imagine him avoiding getting clipped over the course of 12 rounds, because it really only takes a shot from Wilder.
Yeah.
And then I said, however, if it goes to decision, I believe firmly that Tyson Fury will win, because he's just a superior boxer, right? Like, in terms of boxing skill, he's very slippery.
Yeah.
He's very long. He has advantages in height and size and reach.
Yeah.
He likes to keep things at the end of his jab, right? So I suspected. And both of those things kind of came to fruition, but at the same time, he was not able to avoid getting clipped over the course of 12 rounds. He got hit twice, and one of them was insane. Like, I can't imagine someone getting up from that. And at the same time, he also was showing some of that slippery sort of superior boxing skill. And as a result, it turned out to be a draw. So I'm kind of not.
And if it makes sense,
yeah,
right?
it kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I was split down the middle and said, well, it's going to be I suspect a Wilder KO, but if it goes the distance, it'll be a decision.
Yeah.
And I guess I just wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, well, he could go down multiple times and make it to the end. I didn't consider.
Sure.
I thought that if he was going down multiple times, it would mean he would be finished.
Yeah.
You
See, I had put money on Fury to win on points.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had money on it. So I was out in Vegas a month or so ago for work, and while I was out there, I threw
for
some
your
money
loss.
on Fury. So not a huge amount, so I'm all good. But I put money on Fury to win on points. Also perfectly fine, knowing that it could also end with Wilder knocking him out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It wasn't one of those bets where if I lost, I was going to be devastated. Because I knew when I put it on, like, this could very well happen.
Yeah.
Or not. Like, you know.
Or it couldn't.
Or
Yeah.
it couldn't. So, I mean, at no point yesterday was I ever feeling like, man, I wanted to go. You know what? I was just happy to watch how the fight played out. Obviously pulling for Fury, but at no point was I ever disappointed with anything that happened. You know, like knockout. You when you see a Deontay Wilder fight, you also want to see Deontay Wilder do what he does, right?
Sure.
So it was actually kind of cool to get to see him put a shot of that level on Fury. So we got to see what Wilder does.
Yeah.
We got to see what Fury does. It was a great fight. Now let's see him do it again, right? I mean, it's set up now for them to do it again.
I mean, let's think about it. So you had mentioned Andre Ward said Wilder shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
That he should just take the draw and move on.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, well, let's talk about the numbers. So I believe the guaranteed purse for Wilder was $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
The guaranteed purse for Tyson Fury was $3 million, but that's not counting like the gate or the pay-per-view numbers or anything that they'll split. I haven't seen the pay-per-view numbers. They did not fill out Staples Center.
No.
Now, granted, it was more people than when Mikey Garcia fought there a few months ago or whatever, clearly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, we were at that one. They didn't even open the upper section. They didn't open the upper deck for Mikey. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say about half the upper deck looked to be full for this one.
Yeah.
So they didn't sell out Staples. And then there's Anthony Joshua. And you have to look at it and think, from a business perspective, you could start to understand why he doesn't fight these guys. Because it kind of looks like either one could beat him, right? And he's going to go sell 80,000 seats no matter who he fights, basically. 60, 80,000 seats no matter who he fights. And I don't know. It's going to be hard to make deals, I think, where he really has the upper hand. Even Eddie Hearn had said that, hey, if this pay-per-view only turns in 300,000 buys, then we're out the window with, even a 30% split.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for us to split 30% with him if he can't even make 300,000 buys.
Yeah.
Like, Anthony Joshua will do that no problem. So, assuming that there is no Joshua fight for these guys, where do they go?
Well, see, I think I kind of look at it the other side. I think right now Joshua's the biggest loser from last night, because right now you could argue that Fury and Wilder have got each other again, right? If they should, happen to want to do it again, then I think there's a big demand for it. I think it will make more money than the first fight because of how exciting it was. Luis Ortiz is on the undercard. We saw Luis Ortiz give a very competitive fight to Deontay Wilder, so maybe there's a rematch there. Maybe that's an option for Fury, right? So there's other people that are kind of in that mix. I think Joshua kind of comes out of last night as a loser, because had one of those guys won, they're immediately the number one guy to fight Joshua.
Yeah, not to say that he would fight them, but
exactly.
They
but
would be looked
in theory,
at as,
right?
Yeah,
they would be the next one for
one
Joshua.
of the next two fights for Joshua. Yeah.
So with it ending a draw, I feel like he's kind of lost a little bit now, because he can't. He's now going to come out and say, "Well, look, Wilder couldn't beat Tyson Fury, who'd been out for 2 years, and all of the same things you've just said. So is Wilder really that good? Do I really need to go through all this stuff with Wilder? Probably not." Tyson Fury didn't win at the end of the day. He didn't collect the belt. So do I really need to mess with him? So he can either, you can view it as looking for a way out, or purely just from a business standpoint, he's still the breadwinner in the division. I just feel like had there been a winner, we know kind of what comes next.
Yeah, I don't think of him as the loser in this situation, in the sense that, like I said, he can go fight anybody and he'll make more money than these guys will make fighting anybody else, right? But I do think that his stock went down. And what I mean by that is there was a consensus that had built around him as the true champion, right? Yeah. Anthony Joshua, for a long time, has been looked at as the real heavyweight champion. And then there's Deontay Wilder and, Tyson Fury coming out of retirement and fighting some cruiserweights, right?
Yep.
And Tyson Fury has marketed himself as the lineal heavyweight champion, right? So I'm the real one. I never lost my belts in the ring, but you never knew if this
could still back
if it was
up.
Still there.
Yeah.
You didn't know if it was still there, right?
Yeah.
But last night you see it's still there, and Anthony Joshua becomes now questionable as the real heavyweight champion, because you can look at it and say, hey, Deontay Wilder has got some real stuff. Your last fight didn't exactly go so well. You were rocked by Oleksandr Gvozdyk in the first round. If Gvozdyk can catch you, then Wilder can catch you, right? And Tyson Fury isn't washed up. He's still got something. You know what I mean? He's got something in the bank, and he could still box, right? So you look at all these things, and it's like his stock went down. There's less of a claim now to be the true heavyweight world champion than there was before. However, that doesn't mean that he'll go fight Dillian White and make a ton more money than these cats will fighting each other.
So this is where I think, like, you go back to, your question of maybe why do I prefer AJ over Tyson Fury? And where AJ chooses to go from here, I think can change that. Not just for me, but for a lot of people in England, because I think the idea behind Joshua is that he will fight anybody. That he has come up and he's taken belts from people and he's defended them, and he's become this, incredible world champion after only, 19, 20 fights, I think, before he had already accumulated a couple of these belts. If he continues to have fights with Dillian White, Chisora, Joe Joyce, Jarrell Miller, whoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, whoever.
He'll make a ton of money.
Yeah.
He'll fill 80,000 seats.
Yes, he will.
He'll beat them. And people will still want to know why he hasn't fought Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder.
That's true.
So I think for the English fans, if they see Tyson Fury continuing, like if Tyson Fury now has a rematch with Deontay Wilder,
sure,
and it's equally as exciting, let's say he wins it, his stock rises, not just from a business standpoint, but I think the fans back home become a little bit more infatuated with Tyson Fury, right? Tyson
Maybe.
Fury ends up in the ring with Dillian White, and they have an amazing fight. Tyson Fury becomes a little bit more popular again.
Yeah.
So I think it's now it's on Anthony Joshua to not now just sit back and fight the 4 and 5 guys. He has to fight these 1 and 2 guys. Otherwise, I think he potentially risks losing some of that fan base.
Some of that stature that he has. Yeah. Some of that. There's like a mysticism, a mystique around him that's fading away slowly.
A little bit, yeah.
And it's funny because it's like a combination of how he's performing in his fights, because he hasn't looked great in the last few, and how other heavyweights are sort of now competing with each other in really competitive and entertaining fights.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. One from Boxeo, was the crowd pro Wilder or Fury? We touched on it a little bit. It was I felt like it was 50-50. And I think Jordan's perspective was that English fans are just louder than American.
Yeah.
So maybe like 70-30, but with a lot of loud English fans.
I think so.
And then the other,
you got to think too. Look, if you are a fan from England and you've traveled 6,000 miles to come and watch this fight, you want to be heard, right? You are the kind of fan that is gonna make noise.
You're gonna be vocal about your support.
You're not
for
gonna
your guy.
You're not gonna spend that kind of money. You're not gonna travel that far. You're not gonna have all these additional hotel expenses and food expenses and you name it to just sit there with your arms crossed in silence, right? You are the kind of guy that's gonna get behind your fighter. So I also feel like there's no way there was as many English people in there as there were Americans, but the English ones were in there were like really English. You know what I mean?
Really super English. Which
makes for a great.
I ran into a couple fans when we were in the bar watching the other fight, and they said that they came all the way from England to watch the fight. And he asked me who I thought would win. I told him that I kind of hoped, because the story of Tyson Fury is inspiring, that I hoped Tyson Fury could continue that. Because it's good for the story or the narrative. But I thought that Deontay Wilder had a good chance of knocking him out. And he told me, I hope that's not the case, because I spent $2,000 to come watch this, fight. To watch Tyson Fury, that would be a waste. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, you got your money's worth, homeboy. If you're watching the show, right? Whether or not you got your money worth. Yeah. I'd like to see Fury and Ortiz go at it. I could see that. I mean, I actually think the fights were playing out similarly, in the sense that I think Ortiz was winning the rounds where he wasn't getting knocked down, and then he just didn't do the, he didn't have the Undertaker moment. I think, he did.
I think Ortiz,
Paul Bearer didn't come with the urn and lay it over Ortiz's head so that he can get up and.
I think Ortiz carries more power than Tyson Fury probably does. Obviously, big size difference, right? So he doesn't have some of the other attributes that Fury's going to have. But I think. With Ortiz, I guess I don't know that that's a great fight. Fury and Ortiz. I feel
Ortiz?
like I feel no, just in general, like to watch.
I don't know that it would be.
I feel like what each of those guys needs is a Wilder or a Joshua in front of them for their skill set to be visible. You know what I mean? Like if you put Fury and Ortiz in there, I feel like they're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff. And so what made Fury look so much better than Wilder at times last night was his ability to move. Well, if Ortiz is doing the same thing and Fury's doing the same thing, they're kind of both waiting for each other to throw. And so I just don't know how it would kind of play out. It would be difficult to call. But then I think I would probably lean more towards Ortiz for power. But then would he be able to get in there and actually do it, given Tyson's height and reach and all that other stuff?
Yeah, I think it's challenging. When you look at the
tough call.
CompuBox numbers we were talking about earlier, the punches landed on Tyson Fury. It's not a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like 5-6 punches around for Wilder and 4 punches around for Vladimir Klitschko. Yeah. The guy just doesn't get hit very much. It's funny because I kind of made a joke on a previous podcast where he had said that he doesn't wear headgear in sparring, and they asked him why. He said because he doesn't get hit, right? And I thought that was kind of amusing, but at the same time, he really doesn't get hit that much.
You can see why, yeah.
He really doesn't get, which doesn't make for entertainment all the time. Sometimes it
depends what you're
really
watching
boring.
for, right? I mean, if you're looking, I mean, we've said this time and time again when we went to see Mayweather fights, and people say, "Oh, it's not exciting, it's not fun." As somebody that can kind of appreciate what Mayweather does, it's really fun to sit and watch him kind of, bob and weave and move and do what he needs to do, because it makes the other fighter look ridiculous. right? So it's fun to sit and watch Fury do what he did last night, and you can stand up and applaud it and say it's great to watch, unless you're the guy that just wants to see people get smashed around, and then obviously it's not. But it just depends what you're paying your money for, I guess.
Grow with Flow, what's up, man? So he said AJ is frozen out. All the heavyweights are in the U.S. Not really. Not really.
No.
Because, seriously, I feel like AJ can go in circles with Dillian White and with Chisora and these guys and continue to sell out stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's already beaten Dillian White, right?
Yeah, and but there's demand there for a second one because it was a close fight the first time around, and Dillian White has gone on to do good things since.
Yeah, and Tyson Fury in the UK could be a huge matchup.
Huge,
That's still a huge matchup and more money than Tyson Fury will make for any other fight. And as he says, he's a good fighting man. You know, he's a good fighting man. He goes where people want him and takes the challenge. So I think I actually feel like it's more likely that we'll see Anthony Joshua fight Tyson Fury than it is Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder at this point.
It depends. I mean, if Wilder came out of last night wanting no part of Tyson Fury again, but
he may. I don't know.
But he's not going to fight AJ potentially, right? So if you're saying if that's not likely, who would he then fight?
Usyk. Boom. No.
Yeah, that's the one. That's Usyk's first heavyweight fight is going to be Wilder.
It's actually no, I don't know that it should be his first heavyweight fight, but it is a fight when I look at the other heavyweights in the division, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a similar fight. Can you use your skills and your footwork, your defense and your movement and not get hit?
To take enough rounds, yeah.
Yeah, which obviously he could take enough rounds. Sure. I have no doubt that he could win enough rounds.
Yeah.
The only question is,
can he avoid it?
Does he get hit? Yeah, can he avoid it, right? Because even Tyson Fury, and this is how hard it is to avoid getting punched by Deontay Wilder for 12 rounds. He only landed 6 punches a round, and he got to Tyson Fury twice, right? Yeah. And one of them was absolutely devastating. Yeah. The more I watch it, the more I think it's just too difficult to not get hit by him. Yeah. Just one time. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's 12 rounds, right?
36
it's 12,
minutes,
right? That's a long
time
to move around without getting clipped.
Just to not take one right hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have to do a little something back. You're always going to have to take that kind of risk. Yeah. But I think that Usyk is someone who can actually use footwork, movement, things like that, easily to win rounds. The only question is, can he avoid it? Yeah. Can he avoid it
I think the biggest issue with getting that fight made is that Usyk is an Eddie Hearn fighter now, right? And Eddie Hearn can't get anything going with Wilder's camp. So
he and Eddie Hearn have a distaste for each other. But the reason why I think it would be easier is because there will be less hang-ups on the split because of the fact that Usyk doesn't fill Wembley Stadium and get 80,000 no matter who, right? Yeah. That's a fight where you can say conceivably these guys can, in terms of money-making ability and draw, they can figure it out. I think the biggest obstacle between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder is that split.
Who's top dog? Who makes the most money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. AJ doesn't travel the world. I agree that AJ doesn't travel the world, but you do have to account for the fact that he makes a lot of money, man. Like, it's like if you don't go, like if he stays there and makes as much as he makes, it's hard to justify, particularly when you hold all the belts. So this isn't a contender, right? So we're talking about a guy who has, like I said, up until a few hours ago, there was some consensus that he was the real heavyweight champion. These other guys had titles, right? So when you have all those cards, people will come to you to fight in your home.
They have to.
And you will make more money there than you will anywhere else. Which is, and don't get me wrong, this is not good for fans.
No.
Right? So it's not good for you and me. I would love to see him go somewhere and fight someone else. Come here and fight Wilder. Yeah. Or Wilder go there and fight him. It's not good for fans. It's good business, though. It's good for Anthony Joshua.
Well, I also don't think that he's necessarily to blame for it. You know, I mean, there was at one point a contract that he had in place with Showtime, right? And the purpose of that was to give him U.S. exposure and to grow the fan base, because the plan was obviously big picture that he was going to be this champion that traveled the world and fight everybody. But then he took out Klitschko and filled 80, 90,000 people, whatever it was, and there just hasn't been a need to do it since.
Yeah.
And I think I think you're right. As long as that continues, whoever it is that wants those 3-4 belts that he has, come get him, right? Wembley is his house.
Yeah.
80,000 people are his fans. If you want what he has, come get it.
Yeah.
And I think the most recent thing was that he offered a 2-fight deal to Wilder, or I think that's if they haven't done it, that's the intention.
A 2-fight, so a rematch
where they
clause?
would rematch clause in the U.S.
Oh, really?
So I don't think that there's this kind of fear or idea that he won't come here and fight, because I think if you've got the balls to go and fight in front of almost 100,000 people at home, the idea of fighting away at a stadium that holds 15,000 people in Vegas,
sure. Staples Center is not quite Wembley.
He's not tripping about it. I mean, like he's,
although
where would they go? Dallas. Dallas is the only comparative.
Yeah, Dallas is.
That's it. That's the only one.
Although both of these gentlemen last night tried to put on their best Anthony Joshua-esque entrance.
Yeah,
they didn't have the raised platforms or the fireworks. They didn't have the fire AJ lit in the background. He has the closest entrance to like Apollo Creed as I've seen. Basically, the whole "Living in America" James Brown entrance where he's like dancing. He like gets raised on the platform and there's fireworks. Yeah, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But last night's was not bad. Deontay Wilder,
pretty good. Yeah.
Deontay Wilder had the belt lowered like on a.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
I don't know why we keep making all these wrestling references, but when it was coming down, it was like ladder match was about to start, right?
It was the ladder match.
Like these two guys.
They were hanging the belt in the middle.
That was cool though. That was cool.
He
had the live performance, right? The dude that walked him out was the live performance. He had musicians and fireworks and all kinds of stuff. It was pretty good.
Why don't they do that? They should hang the belts above the ring, and then the winner, the belts get lowered down and.
Man.
The ladder match.
Right. That's what I thought when it was coming down. I'm like, what is going on here? No.
This is theater. This fight was theater.
Yeah.
For all of the, meaning, I even think the promotional things leading up, the scuffles, all of that stuff.
Yeah, they seem to genuinely like
theater.
each
other.
other.
I think these two actually don't have the same kind of distaste for each other that
they both have for AJ and that AJ has for them.
Yeah, or particularly for, Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
You could tell that. Yeah. I don't know about...
I think they just think he's a
Fury,
slick
but
talker,
Wilder has a distaste for Eddie Hearn, for sure.
Yeah.
But, so a lot of action last night, a lot of drama last night. Adonis Stevenson, who put his WBC title on the line against the undefeated Ukrainian, trained by Teddy Atlas, Oleksandr. I hate trying to pronounce his last name because I know I don't get it right, unfortunately.
The Ukrainian guy.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Adonis Stevenson, as a result of the knockout in the 11th round that he suffered, had to go into intensive care and was last night listed in critical condition.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And as far as I know, 4 hours ago was still in intensive care. I think his condition is improving.
Yeah, the last thing I'd read that he was now stable, but still
in intensive care, which is, it certainly looked to be a very severe knockout.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to diminish it in any way, but we see knockouts in boxing a lot, and it didn't appear to be one that, and he got up on the stool and they were, doing all these things. Yeah. It didn't appear to be one that would cause
no worse than what Wilder did to Fury, right?
Exactly right. And so, of course, I hope that he recovers.
Yeah, absolutely.
To him and his recovery. I'm surprised by how much backlash he's getting on. So he has a criminal record past. Okay. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So he effectively, I think it was in 1998, he was I guess a pimp, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
Right. So he beat women, and he would trick out women and do stuff like that. And so he has a criminal past. He served time for it. And it's now resurfacing, and you can go on Twitter and see people basically wishing ill of, what I mean? They're kind of coming on saying hey, good, this is what he deserves, which seems a little bit distasteful, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Gvozdyk. Thanks.
Are you allowed to say that?
You know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping that wasn't a joke by Boxeo just to make me say it that way. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna say. So Gvozdyk is what he's hitting me with.
Okay.
But I
is what he's hitting you with.
That's what.
killing it, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't mean to say he's hitting me with a bull stick, but thank you. I appreciate your help and support, Boxeo. But no, I think it's kind of distasteful.
If you're
like lay off the guy. I'm sure he has people who care and probably don't need to be seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Boxeo said seriously. That's how you say it. Thanks, bro.
I think obviously not to the extent of it now that he's in a bad way, but I was happy to see him lose.
I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I just don't think he hasn't done enough in his reign as champion to really kind of be the name that he is. You know, I mean, he's a big name. You know, and he's a I don't know, was he ever on a pound for pound list, or at least kind of flirted with one?
I don't really know if he was pound for pound, but I mean, he's been 175. He's a 41-year-old man. He's been 175 pound world champion for many years now. It's just, we
never fought anybody. I just never liked, and
we never got to see the Kovalev, Andre Ward, Bernard Hopkins. Like, there's so many people that Adonis Stevenson didn't get an opportunity to fight. I don't know if it's because of the HBO contracts and the Showtime contracts or promotional things, but somehow other fighters, when they want to, they're able to overcome these boundaries, right? This is kind of my thing about Anthony Joshua as well. When a fighter wants to do it, when two fighters both want to fight each other, Lomachenko and Linares, Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao, when they truly want to fight each other, they make it happen. Yeah. The promotional things work themselves out, Yeah. I've always kind of thought of him as someone who is avoiding contenders. Eleider Alvarez didn't fight Eleider. I think Eleider Alvarez was a mandatory for a while.
Yeah.
But so he didn't fight them.
I would imagine this is probably the end for him, no? I mean, if you, like you said, 41 years old, he's now lost his belt in, obviously the fashion that he's lost it. Didn't look good against Badu Jack.
I think it's now being in intensive care and things like that. I definitely hope he recovers.
Sure.
And I hope that he stays healthy and probably avoids boxing competitively, at least for going forward. Is my hope. But there's also a lot of withdrawals this week in terms of people. Like, for instance, I'll give you the first one you're aware of. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was supposed to compete last night against Alfredo Angulo, who showed up at Staples Center. Alfredo Angulo
when you say compete, kind of touched down on that, but
they said Chavez Sr. said he wasn't ready.
Well, he hasn't been ready for a number of fights that he's been in, but
they let him fight anyway.
Yeah.
So, he withdrew. Chocolatito withdrew from next week's card at StubHub Center.
Oh, he just had knee surgery or something, didn't he?
Yeah, they said he wasn't able to. They gave him cortisone shots and stuff like that, and he wasn't able to get over it. So he was supposed to fight. He was HBO's last card at StubHub next week. He was a co-main with Cecilia Brackhouse.
Okay.
Chocolatito withdrew because of the knee. Flores and Houghton, which is a rematch, a great matchup the first time, Flores and Houghton, but Flores had to withdraw as well from her fight. So a lot of people had to back out of their fights this week, unfortunately.
It's close to the holidays, man. I don't know.
Close to the holidays.
Everybody's really trying to get it in around Christmas.
So
they still got some big fights coming up, though.
There are big fights coming up. Well, Lomachenko and Pedraza is next week.
Kell Brook's fighting next week.
Kell Brook is fighting next week.
And apparently they're going to announce the Kell Brook Amir Khan situation immediately following, which would be nice.
That's cool. And then, obviously, the StubHub Center fights next week.
Yeah.
The ones that Chocolatito was supposed to participate. So Cecilia Brackhouse on that one.
Yeah. Carl Frampton goes before the end of the year.
Yeah. Josh Warrington.
Warrington.
Yeah, Josh Warrington. Carl Frampton.
Yeah.
So,
there's a couple decent fights.
Yeah, there's a lot of good fights coming up.
It's fun. You mentioned the StubHub Center. One of the things I mentioned to you yesterday, I think I threw it out to you, why there aren't more fights in LA or it's specifically at Staples Center, right? So I know that the StubHub Center has become this kind of hotbed for entertaining fights, but there's not really huge names kind of going to the StubHub Center. I know Golovkin fought there, but it was when the Canelo fight didn't happen. We were obviously there last night at Staples. There is a huge celebrity draw when there's a good fight.
Yeah, they came out
at Staples. Like there was a number, whether it was athletes, other boxers, you know, basketball.
I mean, we
actors
just ran into some people.
Yeah,
yeah, we were running into Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, yeah, there was some big. I mean,
Kenyon Martin.
Yeah,
we ran into.
Yeah.
Obviously, Floyd walked right by us when he came in.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's many people.
It's and I know there's been a lot of not great fights, but good fights now seem to all kind of head to the Barclays Center.
Yeah. Or T-Mobile and Barclay.
Sure. I feel like T-Mobile kind of gets that upper echelon though, right? T-Mobile, it's now like T-Mobile and MGM if you're like an elite fight.
Sure.
It's Barclays if you're a step below that, and then it's wherever for everybody else.
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, having seen what we saw at Staples, for every fight that's considered for Barclays, why not Staples, right? Because of the crowd that it brings, the kind of, I don't know what you would call it, but just like the aura of being in LA and having all of these celebrities and everybody being ringside, it made it seem, not that it wasn't a big fight, but it made it seem Vegas-like, right, to me yesterday.
It was in the arena. It was very energetic. There was a lot of energy in the arena.
Yeah.
Like you said, a big celebrity turnout.
Yeah.
And some of that just has to do, I think, with the quality of the fight. And here's what I mean. So this is about let's say one of the top few fights that you could make in boxing worthy of a pay-per-view just on its own.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you have your Canelos, you've got your Triple Gs, you know what I mean? This fight is, I think, particularly given the undercard that they put it on was worthy of pay-per-view. If Anthony Joshua and one of these guys were to get down, that's a huge fight.
Sure.
But those are extremely big fights. Now, let's go to the next level down. So you have Mikey Garcia, who's a native, right? So Mikey Garcia is from here.
Yeah.
Doesn't even fill out, like I said, the top section of the bowl. You know what I mean? Like, and granted,
you're talking
he's not
about
fighting
when he fought.
He's not fighting a big opponent. Yeah. So it's not like he's fighting Lomachenko or something like that. But I think a lot of it probably has to do with those level of fights. I'm sure Staples Center is always interested in the big ones. Sure. You know what I mean?
But I guess the point I'm trying to make, if you take this main event from last night and you put it at the Barclays, do you think you get the same kind of crowd?
I'm not sure.
And again, that kind of, obviously we're in LA, so a lot of these celebrities are here. Are they, is Shaq gonna fly cross country to go watch this fight in the Barclays? Probably not, but he's in LA, and so why not, right? But I just feel like it helped kind of create a bigger spectacle, than maybe it would have been if it was somewhere else. And it just made me think, like obviously there's a lot of fights that we get to go to out here, mostly at StubHub, a couple at the Forum here and there.
I was going to say the Forum is actually taking more fights than Staples now, because when Triple G graduated from StubHub, he basically went and started fighting at the Forum.
Yeah.
And then you had the Superfly, which was held at the Forum. So a lot of these things have been getting the Forum as an event.
Yeah.
The Forum also has a history with the sport, right?
Yeah.
So Forum did Fight Night at the Forum, which was basically like a season ticket event where you can go and buy season tickets to go watch Forum boxing, like on a weekly basis and stuff like that, televised Forum boxing.
Yeah.
And it's where a lot of names came from. So I think sometimes the Forum gets some of those fights just because of the history, the background of the Forum. I mean, they're comparable in terms of size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think some of it is the mystique of the fabulous Forum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it having been remodeled and stuff like that, take some fights from Staples as well. Those fights might be at Staples. In the past, we actually used to see a lot of fights at Staples.
So I was gonna say, the part of the reason why I thought of it last night is that we've been to Staples before,
many times
for good events, but not for a long time.
No,
and it just kind of struck me that what's kind of what changed? Why did it lose the draw that it had? We've seen some big names there, like you said, Canelo.
We've seen there a bunch of times.
Shane Mosley in there a couple times.
Yeah. But again, at that point in time, the Forum wasn't really active.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True,
so those were all years where we were seeing fights at Staples. So in the past, let's say during that time, if they decided to have an event like Superfly, that would have been at Staples, not at the Forum.
Yeah.
Triple G would have graduated from StubHub to Staples.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think some of it is just that. But a lot of falling out. What else happened? Hall of Fame referee Marty Denkin. I just want to give a shout out because I actually see Marty Denkin in a lot of used to see Marty Denkin in a lot of local shows, Thompson boxing events, All-Star boxing events. Had my photo taken with Marty Denkin in the past, but he passed away this past week. I suspect this is why we saw a number of the referees wearing the armbands.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That could be because they also did the 10 count for George Bush.
They did.
So
They did.
But Marty Denkin, Hall of Fame referee Marty Denkin, passed away. He's even recently. I literally saw him last month judging an event, an all-star boxing event. And
Good for him, man.
yeah, good for him. He till was a part of the sport basically until the very end. So condolences to his family. This is something I actually didn't. I do want to talk about this. It made me think of Jack Reese. I want to applaud Jack Reese for that performance that he had last night in the ring. I would say, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think a number of people would have just waved that fight off after that 12th round knockdown, right? So he didn't appear to be conscious. He tried to get up once. Tyson Fury, I'm referring to, tried to get up once, couldn't get up. He had to kind of try a second time in order to do it. The fact that Jack Reese both gave him a count and let him get up, and I don't think it was a favorable count. I've watched it a number of times. I can see people saying that he got a favorable count. I don't think he did. Tremendous job, I think, by Jack Reese.
Yeah, it was. I think Tyson Fury helped him in that once he did get up on his feet, he seemed to be pretty sturdy on him. It wasn't like
he started bouncing immediately.
Right? It wasn't like he got up and he was still kind of wobbly and Jack Reese was maybe still unsure. I mean, Fury got up and looked ready to go, which probably helped Jack Reese a little bit. But I do think you're right, though, in that, just the initial knockdown itself, you wouldn't have argued if he would have just waved it right there.
I think so. And completely. I think if he walked over and started waving it, or if he had started the count, and then when Fury did the initial sort of, if he waved it off, I would not have been surprised, and I don't think I would have been upset.
No. And you know what? You start to kind of add it all up and take it to all these different places that it could potentially lead to. By allowing him to get up and finish the fight, he's now allowed us potentially to see it again. He's now kind of changed direction a little bit in the heavyweight division by doing that, right? Because if he waves it off right there and Wilder wins by knockout, these guys probably don't fight again. It ended the way it was supposed to. Wilder knocked him out.
Yeah.
So a lot of things actually change now moving forward based upon, Jack Reese's decision to let it play out, which is cool.
What do you think? I'm gonna put a question out on the chat. Did you guys think Jack did a good job? So I understand that and please keep in mind that Jack isn't a judge. It wasn't, it's not Jack's fault that he one of the judges favored Wilder and one of the judges favored Fury or whatever. So separating Jack from the establishment, which he is because he's part of the California Athletic Commission, or is employed by that, I think he did an excellent job.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he did an excellent job. It was a great action. Jack is a great ref. Thank you, Boxale. Appreciate your chiming in. But no, and last night in particular. I think he was great.
Yeah, he did a good job.
But a lot of you know what else happened? While we were watching some of the other fights in the bar in the Staples, Robert Guerrero made his comeback fight, and Chris Arreola made his comeback fight.
Nightmare.
The Nightmare, Chris Arreola.
Yeah.
I met him. He's actually a really cool dude.
He was cool, dude.
He's very pleasant.
Yeah.
Very kind.
Yeah, we met him together.
Yeah, that's right.
Signed the jersey.
That's right.
Signed the jersey.
That's right. Joe got a picture with him, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Or that might have been
a separate thing.
I think when you and I met him more than once.
Yeah, when you and I met him, it was out in Vegas. I don't even remember what fight, but it was out in Vegas, and you gave him a shout.
Give him the shout out, the Nightmare.
Yeah, you gave him a Nightmare shout, and he heard it. I think that's the only time I've seen him. So you've probably seen him somewhere else.
I bumped into Andy Lee last night too.
You did.
He was a super pleasant guy. Also,
did.
Yeah, he was standing in line for food, and he was sitting there. And
you know what's crazy is like so many times I kind of tell myself when I see somebody that's just kind of out doing their thing, like, man, these people have no idea who this is, right? Like you kind of do that every now and then. You're like, why aren't these people kind of bombarding this guy in the airport? Am I the only one that knows who the hell this guy is? What kind of makes that worse, though, is we were at a boxing event, right? So you would assume that the people in there are boxing fans.
But it was early, though. It was very early. It was, but I mean, to be fair, we were there at doors open. We were getting food shortly thereafter. I would say that the Staples Center, in terms of population, wasn't nearly as filled out as it got towards the event. I'm sure plenty of people knew who Andy Lee was out on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, the food line was short. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know that people didn't know who Andy Lee was.
It's just it's still I guess I still have this kind of like celebrity appreciation kind of thing where I'm like, holy shit, is that Andy Lee getting chicken right there? I mean, you know what? Like, it doesn't seem normal that he would just eat chicken the way I do. You know, like that's just like he's
not active.
He's
man.
A phenomenal boxer, and he should be eating a different kind of chicken. You know what I mean?
He's not fried chicken. You mean?
Like, no, just in general, like the fact that we eat the same chicken baffles me. I'm like. This guy should be above.
He's just a normal guy.
He should be above me.
He's very pleasant.
He's actually
a
nice guy.
Very pleasant guy.
Sharp suit too. He looked good in his suit.
Doa said like that time you guys ran into Adrian Broner in the bathroom.
Yeah, dap it, don't slap it.
Dap it, don't slap it. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever explained that on the show. So I met Adrian Broner in the bathroom at MGM Grand, was it?
Was in the MGM, yeah.
And we were at the stall, I guess. We're at the stall.
And we were both at our own individual stall.
We weren't at the same stall. To be fair, we used separate stalls. But Adrian Broner came in to use one next to me, and immediately I went to shake his hand and didn't even think about what I had just
like
been
the scenario, doing. Right?
I was like, hey, man. And this was a while back. I would say Broner has taken some peculiar turns since
for sure.
then.
Yeah.
So this was younger in Adrian's career.
This was like back, probably when he fought like Ponce de Leon kind of time
it's
frame,
like
right?
way
It was
back.
a long time ago, yeah.
It was way back. But I did go to shake his hand, and he looked at my hand, and then he reached out with his fist to give me a fist bump.
Yeah.
And he said, dap it, don't slap it, or I'll slap you.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
And he probably would have.
I'm sure he would have.
Knowing Adrian Broner a little better now these days, he probably would have.
He probably would have, for sure. I want to put that on a T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Dap it, don't slap it, or I'll slap you.
Yeah.
That's a real thing he said just in conversation.
It was. So he's got a fight coming up, right? He's Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
We talked about this last night. Pay-per-view.
Yeah. I hope they stack that card. Otherwise, I'm going to feel really bad about buying that one. Because I keep saying I'm not going to buy it, but we both know that I probably will.
Well, I mean, since Shannon Doe was watching, but I kind of, just so heads up to her, I floated the idea last night about you going to that fight. So
that's true. Way to break that gently.
So if you should happen to be available. But so, and I think we both had kind of the same feedback on it. I am hoping to go to that fight because I'm going to be in Vegas that weekend anyway. I wouldn't go to Vegas for that fight.
No, definitely not.
But I'm going to be there, so I'm going to go.
But the experience is better than watching the pay-per-view.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
the experience of any fight, I think, is better than watching the pay-per-view.
But then the other side of it is, if I wasn't in Vegas, two things. One, I wouldn't go to Vegas for it. But I also don't think I would buy this pay-per-view. Again, unless they stack the cards. But it's just one of those things. I mean, in person, I'll go because it will end up being a good event, and it's it's different when you're there in person. But I don't know. To me, that's not a pay-per-view fight. It's not.
No,
it's
definitely
just not.
not.
It's not a pay-per-view fight. It's not worth it. And yet,
it's not worth it. But I'm gonna pay hundreds of dollars.
Well, yeah. Well, that's different. But
at least you get all day though.
Yeah,
you get all day when you go to the event. Well, now with DAZN and some of these other things, you actually get all day. Now, if you have ESPN Plus, for instance, you get to watch the full card. But it used to be the case where you didn't get to see it was the untelevised undercard. So you got the full day of experience. But yeah, you're definitely right. As a pay-per-view, it's not a great main event for pay-per-view.
Yeah.
In fact, the alleged Pacquiao conqueror Jeff Horn was fought on Friday and
did
won.
He really?
Yeah, he did. He won a first round knockout. I want to say it's like let me see if I could pull up the title because if I don't want to say it wrong.
The title is in like the belt that he won?
This was for the vacant World Boxing Association Oceania middleweight title.
Terrific. And he beat
and
Anthony
also
Mundine?
it was
Mundine?
also for the WBO Oriental middleweight title, which I can say I wasn't even aware that was a thing. The Oriental middleweight title. I didn't even think you were supposed to say that.
Like, well, wait a second. That Jeff Horn's not Oriental.
I don't know what the qualification is for getting it, but it's for these two belts.
So
but he knocked the
Anthony
guy out in the first round.
Mundine, whatever. For some reason, that name rings a bell.
Here, well, let's look at his. I can pull up his record. Whoa,
has he fought somebody that?
It's a fighting man for sure. 48-9-0.
Who has he fought?
That's a mean mug right there, man.
It is.
Oh my goodness.
Josh. He fought Josh Claudy, Daniel Geale.
Let's see.
That's probably
Daniel Geale, Danny Green.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know why the name just either looked familiar or sounded familiar. He's
Crawford
Australian
is
too.
Next. In what? Do you mean Jeff Horn is? Okay, so I'm gonna clarify. We got Grow with Flow said the Hornet Crawford is next. So, I actually can see that because of the fact that they're both with Top Rank and there's not a lot of welterweight alternatives.
Who? Sorry, I missed.
Jeff Horn. He says
and
the
who?
Hornet and Crawford. Bud Crawford.
Again.
Yeah, so
No.
I'm talking about the rematch.
Not for me.
No, it's not for me. It's not for Jeff Horn either. He certainly is not going to. He's not going to do anything more against Crawford than he did last time.
Sure, yeah.
Despite the fact that he didn't bring the right running shoes or whatever the excuse was that his coach or dad said. Did you hear that afterwards? He had only brought one pair of running shoes or something like that, and they were new, and so he had injured his toe, and it made his mobility difficult. It's one of the most outlandish excuses I've heard regarding a performance in a fight.
Yeah. The David Hay pinky toe excuse.
I could see that. Yeah, the David Hay pinky toe. Exactly. Shaquille O'Neal, the big toe.
Yeah.
Although now that I saw Shaq just standing up next to us,
whatever
that big
excuse he
toe
wants
is
to give,
whatever
yeah.
excuse he wants to give because he's massive.
Yeah.
But I can see it happening just because every other welterweight is promoted by PBC, right? So they are not promoted by PBC; they're promoted by Al Heyman.
Yeah.
Right. So like a fight with Errol Spence, with Manny Pacquiao, a fight with Sean Porter, name it, right? Like those are all sort of out the window right now unless these guys start doing work together.
So isn't DAZN and Matchroom really? They're kind of the only ones, I guess, that would ever entertain Top Rank, right? At this point, at least for now. I mean, to go back to what you said before, right? If two fighters want to fight one another, there's a way to figure it out, I guess.
Generally.
In this case, Bud Crawford is in a bad situation.
Bud Crawford's, I can't believe he signed that extension with Top Rank.
He's in a really bad situation.
They have nobody for him to fight, and he's already beat their best welterweight.
Now, if you start to look over Matchroom and what Eddie Hearn has, he's got both Kell Brook and Amir Khan.
Okay.
Right? So they're both good fights for Bud Crawford. But the demand is for them to fight each other. So that still kind of buys Crawford time. But yeah, I mean, his options are really, really limited. And I mean, it's still, I wouldn't want to see him fight Horn again, but I guess like you, I could see why they would.
I could see why they would. I would watch it. I don't think the outcome would be any different.
Watch it.
Yeah. You wouldn't watch it?
No. I don't have ESPN Plus, first of all. And there's just too many others going on.
You could come over. You could come over and watch it.
Right.
I've got ESPN Plus. I just don't think the outcome would be any different.
Yeah.
Bud is, and it's unfortunate because I think of Bud as the top welterweight in the world. Only he's going to have a difficult time proving it to anybody else because you're not going to prove it, despite the fact that I think Benavidez is better than people give him credit for.
Sure.
And I'm a fan of the Benavidez brothers. You're not going to prove it by beating Jose Benavidez.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People aren't going to believe it until you beat Errol Spence.
Sure.
You know, or until you beat Sean Porter or one of these other guys.
Yeah.
You know, PBC kind of took some liberty with these welterweight matchups too. You notice they didn't put any of their welterweights in against each other. Like it was like they basically went and that's true. They did throw him Collazo. I agree with that. So he's gonna fight Louis Collazo, but Louis Collazo is he's still. I want to be respectful because I actually like Louis Collazo and I think he's a good fighter.
Competitive,
but for Bud Crawford, he's an opponent.
Yeah.
He's someone to fight, right? I think that it's interesting that Al Heyman won't basically put his guys against each other. Like, you look at it and Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia, okay, I can see that. There are some tremendous advantages for Errol Spence in terms of size and things like that. So they're two big names, but they're not other elite welterweights, let's say it that way. Mikey Garcia is a pound-for-pound fighter. He's not an elite welterweight yet. He could become one. He's not one yet. Sean Porter, I think the only reason the last fight happened with Sean Porter is because the WBC belt was on the line. If that belt wasn't on the line, I highly doubt we would have seen him take on Danny Garcia. And now Keith Thurman in his return fight, Josecito Lopez.
An opponent, right?
Yeah. I hope the best. I mean, he's a local guy.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Riverside Rocky.
The Riverside Rocky, man.
Yeah.
He's local.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a conversation about empanadas recently. That's what we talked about we didn't talk about boxing at all. We talked about empanadas. True story. He gave me his empanada hookup. He told me who to contact during the holidays. And he actually, and then he mentioned it on the Thompson Boxing broadcast.
Did he really?
So I didn't feel so special anymore. He didn't mention me. He mentioned the empanada hookup.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Yeah, he mentioned the empanada hookup.
He's probably getting paid for that, though. For every empanada sold.
It may be the case. He told me he was disappointed because he didn't get to have any this year. He's had them like 5 years in a row, but now he's in training for
fight,
so he doesn't get to have any of the holiday empanadas. But
he's been in some decent scraps.
Yeah, he's shocked the world before.
Yeah,
Victor Ortiz. You know what I mean? But
I felt bad for him. I met him years ago. I think it actually was at talking about Chris Arreola. I think it was at a Chris Arreola Stavern fight. Was that at USC?
Josecito, or are you talking about Victor Ortiz?
No, I'm talking about Josecito, but where I met him was at the Chris Arreola Stavern fight.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that was at the Galen Center at USC.
I don't recall.
So anyway, at that fight, I bumped into Josecito Lopez. Really, really nice guy. And one of the things that I told him, and maybe in hindsight you don't want to kind of talk negatively when you're when you're with a fighter, but one of the things I told him was that I felt like where he was unfair, because he had just come off the Ortiz win, and I'm pretty sure his next fight was a Friday Night Fights on ESPN.
Oh, I don't recall. Here, let me look it up.
Whereas Ortiz went on to like fight Mayweather or something like that. Like, it was the way the two of them were just kind of lined up following that fight made no sense. And, of course, I decided to just tell Josecito Lopez all of this in person.
You told him he was getting the shaft?
Yeah, really pissed him off.
Like, can I talk to your he was probably still promoted by Thompson back then, too.
And then I was like, oh, by the way, can you sign my jersey?
Yeah, sign my jersey.
Yeah, so look, So
Victor Ortiz, Saul Alvarez was his next fight.
Saul Alvarez?
He went straight to Canelo, which is still...
Was it Maidana then?
I actually recall that... This makes sense to me because...
No, it's got to have been the Maidana fight, because look what followed the Maidana fight.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But
so maybe it was after Maidana.
Yeah, it was after Maidana. But after Ortiz, remember, they were trying to set up Ortiz and Canelo, which was silly to set up because Ortiz had never fought at that weight before.
Yeah.
And Josecito Lopez had even come up in weight for the Ortiz fight, so he was even smaller.
Yeah.
Canelo made his bones fighting really small men, but since then I think he's kind of, now that you're mixing it up with Triple G and doing stuff like that.
Triple G was out there last night at the Staples Center. I didn't see him, but then I saw pictures.
I saw the picture of him and Shaq, yeah. I didn't see Triple G. I would have said, what's up? There. I would have been like, and he would have been like, who are you? No, I'm just
looking a little chunky.
Well, it's between fights.
Yeah.
I wonder this about Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury in the post-fight interview said, hey, it's the holidays. I'm going to go back. I'm going to spend time with my family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's done really well to get back into shape.
Yeah.
Because he was obviously very much out of shape.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping he doesn't kind of put all the pounds back on.
I mean, that's a lot of weight to put back on, but I guess it will tell us I guess a story as to what happens next, right?
Sure.
If a month from now we're seeing pictures of Tyson Fury with a beer belly and covered in food stains, then we know that Tyson Fury's next step is not really to kind of take over again. Maybe it was this to prove a point, and now he's done it. He can go and do whatever it is he wants to do. But if he's able to kind of get through the holidays, eat like everybody else eats, right? But then kind of say, okay, January 1st, I'm ready to turn it back on and stay in fight shape, then we kind of know where his head's at, and we know that maybe there is another kind of story to come. But I'm like you. I mean, I hope he, keeps the weight down. And
I should throw it out to Tyson that I have the empanada hookup in L.A. If you're still here you want to know for the holidays, or you could ask Josecito, but I've got it as well. If you're listening,
I'm sure Tyson Fury's not in all this time. What he's been missing is probably not empanadas.
You think he's ever had an empanada? Do people in England eat empanadas?
No.
Is that a weird question to ask? Like, do people in England do?
No, I mean, no. I mean, England's not known for its diversity. So no, there's not a lot of empanadas.
There's not a lot of
empanadas over there. I don't know if I've ever told you this. So when I moved here, one of my first trips back home, I went home and I went to a restaurant that I had always eaten at with my mom growing up, that I kind of considered like this fancy, restaurant. Turns out it wasn't. But
what kind of restaurant was it?
It was like it was called Caesar's Palace. Shout out to Caesar's Palace in Liverpool. It was called Caesar's Palace, and for some reason, like me and my mom, maybe it was like the way my mom had sold it to me, is that it was this kind of like nice restaurant, so we went there for special occasions. So anyway, long story short, I went in there following now being an American resident. I went in there, and I ordered nachos.
Oh, right? They have nachos.
They had nachos on the menu, right? Now, I don't know that I'd ever had nachos in England before.
Sure.
But then I moved here and I'd had some nachos.
Yeah.
So I go back to Caesar's Palace and I order nachos, and they brought, no joke, a bowl of Doritos, like nacho flavored Doritos, nacho cheese flavored Doritos.
Okay.
With like a side bowl of actual like nacho cheese, like straight out of the machine nacho cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like looking back, I'm like, this is a place my mom used to bring me and tell me was like a high-end, like nice restaurant for special occasions. I'm like looking at these nachos like it was a disgrace. Yeah. I'm like, that's when I knew I was staying in America. I'm not. There's no way I'm ever coming back here. Their nachos are the worst.
All the Englanders who came to Staples Center then last night must have had their mind blown with all the varieties of nachos that were available.
Yeah.
Englanders. I did it again.
Little variety.
I called them Englanders.
Englanders?
Yeah.
Engladiers?
What was the Englandians?
Englandians. What do you guys call yourself?
What do you call it? Englandians?
Like English? You're not an Englandian?
You're not Englandian?
Nope. No.
Britannian? Does that work?
I don't even know if that's one.
No, I'm making all of these up. None of them are real. Yeah. Oh, man. So what do you think? Anything else you think we should go over?
I'm trying to think. What have we got?
There's a lot of different stuff that happened this weekend. Next week,
Jarrett Hurd.
Oh,
we didn't touch on Jarrett Hurd.
Oh, yeah, we totally forgot about almost the entire undercard.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, I don't want to, kind of harp on about the Jarrett Hurd thing, but you and I again had a little bit of a disagreement. I think last night
during the fight. Yeah.
To me, Jarrett Hurd looked terrible. Right. So this guy from England who nobody knows or has heard of.
I didn't say that he looked good.
Sure.
I didn't think that he was in trouble.
Yeah.
That was was the difference.
And I guess at the time I kind of felt like he was in trouble. In hindsight, both kind of replaying it back and talking to you, I get that he wasn't. My thing is like you just can't fight that way as you move up the ranks. So if you're not going to get in the ring and call out Charlo, and you're going to get in there with Charlo, and you're going to let Charlo rough you up, Charlo's going to rough you up. Like Charlo is not this no-name guy from England who you jumped in with and let have a few easy shots on you.
Sure.
So I guess that's where I'm not sold on Jarrett Hurd actually going on to do big things, because I think the way he fights is going to open him up for some losses.
Sure.
Unless he can take it, in which case more power to him. Like it makes for exciting fights, and it shows you just how hard you are if you're going to take that kind of punishment and just keep walking through it. But I just don't see it.
Growth Flow said Hurd ain't ready. It depends on what you mean by ready. So like here's the disagreement that we had last night. I think it was in the 4th round. He was taking some combination punches, and you said he wasn't looking good. Mm-hmm. And I believe I said something like, the man is the definition of a war of attrition. Getting roughed up in the 4th round doesn't mean anything to him, right? It's his stylistically, there's a mental pressure game that he applies that involves taking much punishment. And even after previous fights, I have said, I don't think that's good for a fighter's health in the long term. Sure. So over a period of time, the style eventually will become too much, right? Because as you step to the elite level, people hit harder, they do things faster, right? Yep. And even if you're winning, you're taking so much punishment that it's not going to be, it won't be good for you in the long run. You have to practice defense, right? Yep. Or he's going to have to up his defensive capabilities, and I still think that's the case. Yep. However, if I were to argue the counterpoint as well, what I would say is, at the time he faced Arislandi Lara was considered the best 154-pounder in the world, and he had unified titles, right? He had unified titles, and it was thought that he would beat Jarrett Hurd, and then he would go on to pick up the rest of the titles, right? It worked against Arislandi Lara,
who doesn't have a ton of power.
That's true. So that's the big difference is Arislandi Lara is not a powerful puncher. He's a very skilled fighter, right? And he's a guy who, I mean, he's gone the distance with Canelo. He's done, he's had a lot of accomplishments. I feel like he won that fight, but I agree. So if you're Jarrett Hurd, you probably feel like, what are you talking about? I faced the best in the world and I beat him using my style. But what if those punches were from, like you said, a Charlo, right? Now, you could make the argument that Charlo's a big puncher. He's heavy. But I would also say that Charlo hasn't really faced anyone tell you that he is the monstrous puncher that he is. Sure, he knocks people out and does stuff like that. But that's also not Triple G. Yeah. And that's not Canelo. Yeah. Right? It's kind of like Tyson Fury last night said in the post-fight press conference, he said he's the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, right? He's not going to be out just because somebody puts him down. You know what I mean? He's not going to not get back up. You don't become the lineal heavyweight champion of the world for no reason. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I kind of understand what he's saying, and I think it's something similar to what Canelo said when referring to Triple G's power, which is like, hey, at this level, we all have power. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody can hit at this level, right? So it's like I'm ready for it kind of thing. Yeah. And so I don't know that Charlo's power is what it is, or if it's just what it is against the opposition that he's faced.
Well, it seems like we're going to find out, right? I mean, they were both in the ring last night at the end of it.
Sure,
It seems like that's now the next step.
I mean, I'll give you another example. Here's another example. It was thought that Jaime Munguia has freakish power, right? Because Jaime Munguia comes in relatively unknown, wins a title in devastating fashion, right? So he's basically five knockdowns maybe in the fight. Yeah. Okay, but then he goes and he fights Liam Smith, The power didn't look the same anymore, right? He fights Liam Smith, and the power didn't quite look... Now, sure, he was throwing powerful shots, but they didn't do the same thing because the level of opposition was higher than it had been, right? And so it's hard to tell with Charlo.
It was a combination of things, I think, with Liam Smith in that Liam Smith obviously was a lot bigger than Saddam Ali. So could just kind of by definition was able to take more, I guess, from Munguia. But it's also that and you and I have spoken about this before. Like the Smith kind of way of doing things, the way they've gotten to the top is scrappy, typically. So I think Liam Smith is able to take a lot of power and a lot more shots than most probably do. That being said, Canelo put him down.
Yeah, he did.
So he couldn't take Canelo's power.
That's an elite level boxer.
Make Munguia's, right? So
that was an elite level boxer. That's what I mean. There's a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between knocking out the opposition that they've been knocking out and knocking out Triple G. Sure. Yeah. So just because you knocked out other guys doesn't mean you can knock out Canelo and Triple G.
He was out there last night too, Munguia.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see him there, but I saw afterwards that he had posted on there. Hurd was clipped. So Grow with Flow said Hurd was clipped at the end of the third, and his legs wobbled a little. It's not that. What I mean to say is stylistically, he gets hit. It's part of what he's doing. Like I liken it to Nico Macias. If you've ever watched a Rooster fight, for instance, he's constantly getting hit too much, right? Yeah. You watch him fight Soto Karass. He got hit too much. That's what happened. Yeah. Right. Soto Karass threw and he landed too. Could that happen to Jarrett Hurd? Absolutely, but it doesn't mean that stylistically he's not like practicing good defense when you watch him do that.
So could I not liken that to Anthony Joshua?
What do you mean by that? I don't think they're the same. like in terms of their boxing style.
No, but I mean, so I think one of the things that you and I'm not to say that I don't, but I think one of the things that you touch on frequently with your critique of Joshua is that he gets hit relatively easily. Now, it seems like your differential then between the two is that Jarrett Hurd is purposely looking to get hit.
No,
versus AJ that just doesn't have a good defense, and so he just gets hit.
I don't.
It's a similar. To me, it seems like it's a similar thing in that AJ takes a lot of punches, more than he probably should at his level, but he still ends it with beating the other guy.
Sure, I think there's two different comments I have on that. The first is what I mean. Jarrett Hurd stylistically, it's a war of attrition. It's meant to be drawn out over a long period of time. And it involves you getting worn down mentally and physically, right? So basically mentally because you're landing shots on a guy and he's not going away.
Yeah.
Right? Like you watch Arreola Lara, he wins 6 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
And then he starts losing. And part of it is he's been landing clean shots on a guy for 6 rounds and the guy's still standing there. Yeah. And he's still walking into you. He doesn't care. It's almost like it didn't bother him, right? So it's not that he wants to get hit. I wouldn't say that anybody wants to get hit. I would say that it's
part of his game
plan. Yeah. Stylistically, it's the way that he fights. Anthony Joshua, I don't think Anthony Joshua is easy to hit. I don't mean to say that. I mean, the guy's an Olympic gold medalist. You know, he's got skills, right? Like, I don't think he's easy to hit. But what I do think is, in particular, in his last fight against Povetkin, he was getting hit relatively easily, and some of them were damaging punches.
Yeah,
I mean, like he looked like his nose was busted in the first round, and he almost went down to his butt.
Times,
you know, at the very end of the first round. And my point really with that is saying more. And even though he comes back and he beats Povetkin, it's kind of similar to what you're saying with Jarrett Hurd, which is what if that was Deontay Wilder?
Yeah.
Right? And you're kind of saying this about Jarrett Hurd. You're saying, well, what if that was Charlo? Yeah. The difference is Deontay Wilder has done that to Luis Ortiz. He's done it to Tyson Fury, right? He's done it to Bermain Stiverne, Arreola, right? For as much as people like to say that Deontay Wilder hasn't fought anybody, he's fought people. He's fought good fighters. Those guys aren't nobody, right? Like, I mean, there's competing for world titles, you know? One of them's the lineal heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I've been one of the people that have always said Wilder hasn't really fought anybody of a real stature. I think you just said Jeff Horn is an opponent to Crawford.
He is.
Well, Arreola is an opponent to Wilder, right? Now, Horn was a champion. It wasn't just competing for a belt. Horn was actually a champion. So I think just because Arreola's... Well, yeah, sure. But I think just because Arreola's in there competing for the belt doesn't make him anything more than what he is. He was still just an opponent for Wilder.
You'll notice when I referred to Jeff Horn, I called him alleged Manny Pacquiao conqueror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
because
he clearly lost that fight.
Manny's been on the rough end of, and I'm not a huge Manny Pacquiao fan, but he's been on the rough end of a couple bad decisions for sure.
Bradley and Jeff Horn, you mean?
Bradley and Jeff Horn.
I think it's I like to think of it as payment for the few fights that Juan Manuel Marquez should have won but didn't.
Sure. I go for that.
Oh man, I'm gonna catch a lot of hate for that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that some of those fights maybe Juan Manuel Marquez won. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You know.
I don't think you're wrong. The only other undercard fight that we didn't talk about is Ortiz, right?
Luis Ortiz, yeah.
Not a ton to say, really. My only critique is that it took longer than it should have.
It took a long time.
Yeah,
it took much too long. But I agree.
But I mean, he looked good. He at no point was ever in danger. He clearly still has the power to get the guy out of there.
No. He certainly didn't like being antagonized.
Yeah.
By that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Ortiz in the mix. I don't want... See, Ortiz, like Lara, actually, you just mentioned Oleksandr Lara. It's a similar situation where they perform really, really well and at a really high level. And then all of a sudden, they're fighting a bunch of kind of nobodies, right? Not to be disrespectful, but then they fight a bunch of nobodies for a while. And, like Oleksandr Lara is fighting... Ortiz just gave Deontay Wilder a great fight. Arguably was winning the fight, was it not for Wilder's crazy power?
Yeah, I mean he wasn't winning on the scorecards, but he was definitely winning the fight. Yeah.
And then his next fight is 2 fights down on the undercard Wilder's, Wilder's card. To me, it's just strange. Ortiz is good enough.
He fought once before. Didn't he fight at T-Mobile? Did we see him at T-Mobile?
When? On the Canelo card?
Ortiz fought one time before last night too.
Did he?
Again, somebody else, like somebody not at that level. Let me pull it up. Luis Ortiz. Wow, there are very many Luis Ortizes on BoxRec.
That one,
and
right?
the funny
King
thing,
Kong,
30, King Kong, there we go. 30-1.
So he did. Razvan something.
Yeah, that guy.
Also at the Staples Center. So what was that? Was that on Mikey Garcia's card?
Yeah, maybe. I know, because I was going to say, I know that I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it live. So it had to be either at T-Mobile or at Staples.
Well, the same arguments that kind of still applies, though. So how do you go from giving Deontay Wilder his toughest test to date, really making a good account of yourself, showing your skill set, showing that you've got power too, you wobbled Wilder, and your next fight is against Razvan Kojanu, who was 16-3. You know what I mean? How do you go? How does that happen? How is he not in the mix for Dillian White? How is he not in the mix for AJ? How does he not fight Joseph Parker, who is now kind of dropped off the face of the earth and needs fights? Like, these are good fighters.
So here's the thing. So Growth Flow said the three best heavyweights are Wilder, Fury, and Ortiz. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I actually give Ortiz a ton of credit, which I found out was an unpopular opinion. I actually mentioned, I don't know if it was last show or the one before that, but I took a lot of flack on Facebook because I said that Ortiz could give Oleksandr Gvozdyk problems.
Yeah, for sure.
And people crucified me on Facebook for saying that they thought that was ridiculous. But Luis Ortiz, in his defense, I actually don't. It's not really up to Ortiz. I think the point of the matter is that people aren't engaging or fighting with him. Yeah. So, like, for instance, he was campaigning before Dillian White and Chisora. He was campaigning for a Dillian White fight.
Okay.
Right?
I didn't know that.
On DAZN.
Yeah.
But they went with Chisora. Those guys have already fought before. But then they would rather fight each other again than fight Luis Ortiz, probably because it's more profitable for the two of them to do that because of their past history, because they're both, because they'll fight in England and all this different stuff. But I actually gave a lot of credit to Deontay Wilder when he took this fight because it didn't seem as though anybody else was interested in it. I don't believe that Luis Ortiz doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua, doesn't want to fight any of these guys. I think it's probably quite the opposite of that most of those guys don't want to fight Luis Ortiz, and that they're waiting for something. They're waiting for him to age out and stuff like that, right? Which he is doing. I'm not going to lie. He's what is he, 39?
I was going to say, what do they have it listed as? Right? Because the running joke is that he's really older than that, right? But they say 39.
So he's 39 years old. He's come off a hard fight with Wilder. It's hard to take that kind of punishment at any age, but particularly at 39, right?
Sure.
And so could you see him fighting more of these fights soon? Yeah, but I think it's probably because people are waiting for him to age out and become less of a threat and get a little bit more miles on him. Yeah. And in the meantime, what can he do to put food on the table? He's got to fight these guys. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a long time, I think he was, probably the most avoided man in the division. And I do think he could give Usyk problems. I'm going to double stamp that right now.
I think he'd give all fights and any fighter in any at any time. I think he would give them all problems. Honestly, I'm still not. Your viewers said that Wilder, Ortiz, and Fury. I'm honestly not. I'm still not sold that Wilder is in the three, because I mean, and I'm one that always says I don't know that Wilder's really fought anybody. I believe Luis Ortiz was Wilder's first real test. I believe that he was losing that fight until he landed, I don't want to say necessarily a lucky shot, because his whole fight is game planned around that shot. So it's certainly not lucky, but it is kind of pulling the cat out of the bag a little bit. Like you'd need to, if he doesn't land it, he loses that fight. Same thing applies last night, right? Yeah. He was not the better fighter last night. He got a draw because he's got crazy power. He's not the better fighter. So to say he's one of the three best heavyweights in the world, he's certainly not one of the three best based on ability. He's got the best power, probably top in the division, I would think, as far as power is concerned. I'm still just not sold that Wilder is anything more than just a guy who can punch hard, which is terrific and has got him the WBC championship of the world. But
to be fair, a guy who can punch hard is enough,
sure,
right? Like
sure,
basically, they call it a puncher's chance for a reason. Yeah. Basically, you can never rule out a puncher. You can and actually, some of the reason that every time it comes up, who would win, Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua? Who would win, Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury? It ends up being,
it could always
I don't know,
be. It
right?
could always be Wilder,
it always ends up being, I don't know, because I can never say that Deontay Wilder won't win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with his boxing ability, right?
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that anyone who is as powerful as he has and has competent enough ability to land the shot, he's at least competent enough to get the shot in.
Sure.
And I would also give him credit for being a remarkable finisher. So when somebody is in trouble, he gets on it immediately, right? When you have those things, you can't be counted out.
Sure.
Right? So it's kind of like most fights, you have to say, oh, it's a 50-50. I don't really know. Like when you tell me who would win between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, I would say virtually the same thing that I said about Tyson Fury, which is that if it goes to a decision, I suspect Deontay Wilder will lose because that's not how he wins fights. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, sure.
If he lands the shot, then he'll win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's true against basically any heavyweight.
Yep.
Any heavyweight that's out there, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, does he have the same type of the way I would word it is he may not have the fundamentals. He's not the Tim Duncan of boxing. You know what I mean? He may not have the fundamentals. You may not want to model your boxing training after Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
Like you don't want your son to box like Deontay Wilder or your daughter to box like Deontay Wilder. You want him to look at like, Lomachenko.
Yeah.
All people who have that like skills like that, right? Yeah, you wouldn't say, "Hey, go look at Wilder and copy that," because it's different. But then again, there's been many big punchers. George Foreman and Joe Frazier, all these guys made careers out of just knocking people out who were standing there.
Because you're using the fundamental and the basketball comparison. You know who Deontay Wilder is?
Who is he?
Rasheed Wallace.
He's the Rasheed Wallace.
Right? He's Rasheed Wallace. He's messy.
No.
But he gets it done. He's Rasheed Wallace, dude. You're thinking about it. You're agreeing. I can see it.
No,
he's Rasheed Wallace.
I would go.
He's an all-star.
You know who I would go with?
Go.
Rodman. I'm going Dennis Rodman. Deontay Wilder is the Dennis Rodman. Extremely unconventional dude. Gets it done in different ways.
Right, I'll give you Rodman. Anyway, Rodman had to compete with some real ballers to go and get those rebounds. I don't know that Wilder's really competing, but yeah.
I think he's the Dennis Rodman. That's where I'll go there. I don't know about you.
I don't want to agree with you too much. I'm going to stick with Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
That's what you got to do. So that should be like a segment on the show. Like
align everyone to it.
Right? Be like, so this boxer is what basketball player? Or what?
What basketball? What football player?
Yeah, you got to come.
You guys
up with
throw
all
it
these
out there. If you follow basketball at all, tell me which basketball player would you liken Deontay Wilder to?
All right, put up a poll.
I know exactly. I could do that. We could put up a poll.
Put up a poll. Is he more like Rodman or Rasheed Wallace?
Rasheed Wallace.
I'm walking out of here with a win.
We need an other so that you could type in your own.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Or there has to be at least 3 options though. Can't be just 2. Jeez. Yeah, but I think that's the last the last of the main pay-per-view undercards.
Yeah. It was a good card though.
It was a very good card.
Good event.
It was a very good event. I'm excited to have been there. I want to give a shout out to your friend who hooked us up.
Brendan. Yeah.
Brendan.
Brendan. Yeah.
Brandon.
And
I can't tell with your accent if you're saying Brendan or Brandon.
Brendan.
Was that an A or an E?
It was an E.
Brendan, what's up, Brendan?
Yeah. Brandon Gormley. No, Brendan. I unfortunately I don't know the name of the company that he works for, so I'll have to apologize to Brendan for that. But yeah, he hooked us up. We were obviously in there already, but he hooked us up with some pretty cool seats. And
Brendan, we had been in the fight. Brendan basically got us moved to Radio Row, which is how we got an opportunity to see a lot of the the people that we got to see, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. These seats were
cool.
remarkable.
Yeah, it was cool.
So shout out to Brendan and
Brandon.
I'm
just messing with you. It's
You're just
Brandon.
kidding with me now? Jeez. Trying to make me look a fool on my own show here. Oh, I already got one. Boxeo jumped in and said Rodman.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're the host. Yeah.
I'm the host.
He's playing it safe. He's voting with the host. He's going with the host.
That has nothing to do with the fact that I mailed him some swag a few months ago.
There you go.
Because he watches every show.
All right. That's fair, though. I mean, Rodman's a good call. That's all right.
You'll take the
I'll
L.
take the loss.
Yeah, take the L on that one.
I'll take the loss.
Oh, man. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. Next week, I will be in Indio, California for Golden Boy Fight Night on Saturday. I will be back here on Sunday to recap that show. We have a couple former guests who are going to be part of that show. So main evented by Carlos the Solution Morales. So best of luck to Carlos. I'll definitely report back to you guys on how that goes, as well as Luis Feliciano, former guest to Beat the Count, will be on there. And it was just announced, I think, earlier this week that Pat Manuel, who is the fighter who HBO did a special on Pat Manuel, is a transgender female to male fighter. It was Jim Lampley sat down and did an extensive interview with him. Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
But it was like a transgender female to male fighter making his pro debut now. So competed in the amateurs as a female and now turned pro as a man.
Okay.
So also fighting on that card. So we'll
cool.
report back to you guys on all that. And of course, Lomachenko and Pedraza for unification bout. And then StubHub Center. So so StubHub Center, Cecilia Brackhouse, and
then the only fights that I know of over on the other side of the pond there is Kell Brook.
Yep. Kell Brook
back in there.
So a lot of boxing coming up.
Yeah.
A lot of boxing coming up. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna watch all that.
It's good though. It keeps you busy, right?
It keeps me busy. Yeah, having to get out to Indio to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But should be fun.
Cool.
We'll see how it
Yeah,
goes.
it should be a good time.
Thanks for coming on. Is there anything
Thanks for having me.
Anything you want to plug?
You know what? Actually, I will this time. You know what? Last time I was here, I kicked myself after the fact because you asked me if I wanted to kind of give anybody a shout out or plug anything. And I was like, just keep watching the show, guys. No, that you know
what do you think of the set, by the way?
It's just nice. It's an improvement. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. I remember
Thanks,
last time I came in, I had some sweats on. And I was digging away at the sweats, and I was pulling them up and all kinds of, and you could see all of that on the
well, you can't see it now.
No, so you guys have no idea what I've been up to while I've been sitting here. But I like it, dude. It looks good. It's moving on up. Things are good. I'm happy to be here.
It'll change one more time before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
we're gonna
have me back again when it's done, and I'll compare the three.
Yeah, you can compare the three.
But before I forget, so my plug is. This is I don't just do guest hosts on podcasts.
You don't?
for a living? No. So if anybody out there that's listening owns a business or knows somebody that owns a business and they need credit card processing,
the credit card processing
I'm your boy.
That's right.
Signature Card Services.
Yeah. Say what's up to Jordan.
Yeah.
How do they find you?
You can email me at jstewart, STEWART, @signaturecard.com.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on, and it's always cool to chat. Like I said last time, this is a conversation that we would have had anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
It's cool to sit here and be with you. It's cool.
All right, appreciate you guys, and appreciate everybody out there. We'll be back next week with all that stuff from the fights, and see you then.
Cool.
Peace.
Thanks, man.